Good day. I'm home. I'm teleworking today. And I've been having some thoughts about um, spirituality and my personal journey and the journey of those around me. Um, and I'm noticing it happen. I'm noticing it in me, and then I'm also noticing it um, generally. That when people's beliefs or their expression of their beliefs don't line up with the way that I express or believe, I have two reactions. Most of the time, my reaction is, "Oh, that's great that that's working for them." And I don't have any visceral like, "Oh, that doesn't make any sense." Um, I understand that there are infinite ways to describe and express and have relationship with the infinite, right? And I understand that, and I'm able to fully integrate that in that area. However, I have noticed that when it comes to a previous held belief of mine, belief system, or expression of mine that I previously held, and I see it in someone else, I am much more apt to judge their expression, their belief. And so much so that it riles me up. It really, it really riles me up to the point where I have to talk to myself and say, why aren't you accepting of them in and their expression and their belief in the same way that you are of someone else who has a belief or expression that you've never even heard of before? And um what's the difference there? So I struggled for a really long time because I'm really working hard to not be judgmental. Um, I see it a lot though, where in every community, in the spiritual community, in the church community, I see where we don't believe something someone else believes and we knock it. We um, we act as if it's nonsense. And it's frustrating because until we shed that judgment and that notion of I know more, that it's ego. It's ego coming in telling us that differences should be feared, that differences should be jeered, that differences can only separate us, that they can't unite us. And I don't believe that that's true. So, what I've come to understand that when it comes to a previous held belief of mine or a previous held expression of mine, um, I felt very contained in my some of the previous beliefs that I held. Some of them I still operate in because they I understand them in a different way now. And so I am very thankful for the things that I learned, the teachings that I've learned And I am able to separate the humanity of the people who taught me the lesson and the spiritual lesson that God was trying to teach through these humans, through people who were teaching me. And my arm is getting tired holding it like that. I'm able to separate now that I feel like now that I know the qualities of God and who God is and what it isn't. I'm able to see scripture in a different way. But a lot of times I feel like there were things that put me having this separation from God. It put a lid on it, right? It put the lid on, well, you have to be this way, you have to act this way, you got to do this thing, you got to, and it was very, and it's funny because they didn't think that they were legalistic, but it was legalistic. And it was very, it was legalistic. And it wasn't the extreme of legalism, but relationship with God isn't about rules. Relationship with God is understanding your place in all of this, all that's around us, that that God is a presence, not a person. And this is my belief. So if you don't agree with me, that's fine. However, what I have come to understand is that God isn't a person, that God is a presence that's never absent. And I always have known that God was omnipresent, but in trying to learn about God, we subscribe certain behaviors and attitudes and thoughts towards it that I don't believe are exactly true. And so I felt very contained. And even when situations and circumstances happened, I felt very victimized. And when I came out of victim mentality, when I came out of the idea that things were happening to me in life and God could do whatever he wanted because he was God, right? And then when I started to realize that I have the presence of the Creator dwelling in me, guiding me, is my inner being, is my higher self, and that all things are working for my good means all things, means I am never a victim, that everything is happening for me, and that there are lessons that I need to learn in order to continue to grow and ascend to a consciousness of Christ, the consciousness that Christ attained. And saying this even, it's almost like I have a knee-jerk reaction of having to feel like I need to try to explain what exactly I mean by that, because for some people it'll mean one thing and for other people it'll mean another thing. But what I'm saying is that the same thing that the teacher Jesus taught us was that we are all gods. We are all extension of God. I'm not saying we are God creator, but I am saying that we are extensions, emanations, Michael Beckwith says, of the Most High. And in creating us, we were created perfect. There's no lack or limitation in us. There's no separation. And so I've come to learn all of these things, and now the lid is off. And so when I hear things that remind me of the squashing in of me being put back in that box, I want to rebel. I want to jump out and be like, no, that's not how it is, And so I'm realizing that that's a trauma I need to work through. I'm realizing that um, my negative reaction is a result of a trauma that I really do need to work through. And how I need to work through it is through acceptance that mindset, that belief, that expression that I previously held may work for some people. And that's absolutely great and it's fine. That's for them. But this is for me. And it's very difficult to share with other people without. So, part of what I had a hard time with was this is the right way and this is how it has to be done. And so, I don't know how to share without, well, I don't know how to share without coming across that way. So what it often comes across as is as if I'm saying, well, I believe this, I believe that, I believe that, but this is something I know. But I'm not saying because I know it that it's for you to know either. What I'm saying is, I know this to be true. I know this is my current awareness, that I know this without a shadow of a doubt. There's nothing you could say that would change my mind, that would change what I know, would change my soul, because this resonates so deeply within me. And I'm saying what you know is what you know, and it is for you. And we have to learn how to accept others as they present, as they show up, as they express. One other thing I want to talk about really quickly, because it just crossed my mind and I feel like maybe there's a reason, is the idea of calling people out. The idea of, we live in cancel culture, call out culture right now. And when somebody does something wrong, we call them out. And look, I was one of them. I was a chief sinner in that area, calling people out. Calling people out does nothing but put you in a seat of judgment where you have self-elevated and made yourself better than them. And now you're calling them out. But actually what you've done is lowered yourself. You've lowered your vibration to a vibration of judgment. And, there's a scripture that says, judge not, lest ye be judged. And judge with the measure that you judge someone else. And it's absolutely true. If you stay there. Now, if you choose to, you judge, we have thoughts that come in our mind and we may judge and then say, okay, that's incorrect. And you say, that is their expression. They don't have to justify how they show up. I'm in acceptance. We really need to learn how to do that. That's what I'm trying to learn how to do, because I do understand that judgment is a lower level emotion. And it is not an emotion of love and acceptance and beauty and harmony and joy and peace and understanding. I also want to remind us that when someone messes up, I don't care if it was 10 minutes ago, 10 years ago, whatever, they don't deserve to be called out for that publicly. Because I'm sure that there's things that we've done that we don't want brought up. We're learning. We are all learning on this journey of life. We are all fellow travelers, and we have to learn how to accept each other's journey, not to judge, not to compare, not to say, oh, well, look where I am compared to where they am. And you know what? I said something the other day and it kind of sounded like that. And I had a quick check from myself, but also a quick check from somebody who was sitting across from me. And I'm thankful for people in my life that are, you know, aware that we are all on this journey together. We are one. We are all from the same source. We are extensions of the same source. There is not one of us that is different in that way. And so I really want to be an example of being kinder to one another, to be more understanding to one another, to be not even less judgmental, more understanding, more accepting of one another. Because when we understand who we are, when we really get it, we understand that whatever judgment that we place on the person next to us, whatever condemnation we release into their reality, it's like cutting off our own hand. It's like cutting off our nose to spite our face. So those are my thoughts for today. And my intentions are to be loving and kind and joyful and accepting and understanding and full of the presence. Have a good day.